I want to share with you how addiction therapy changed my life and kept me sober when nothing else could. Look, I've been sober for over 8 years, and in the beginning of my journey, I tried everything to get sober. Willpower, AA, I researched Rehab, did online research, everything you can think of and everything you're probably thinking of. And I want to tell you and share with you in this video why some of those things worked and some of them didn't, and why therapy was the thing that really stuck for me. So let's dive into some of the different options we have out there and some of the things I tried along the way. So firstly, willpower. That's just like white knuckling it. I'm just going to stop, threw away all of my weed, all of my coke, all of my drink, threw away everything, just got it all out of the house and just was like, Luke, you can do this, white knuckle it, just get through it. But the thing with that is willpower fades. You can have all the willpower in the world to hang on to a ledge, but if I come back on Tuesday, you're not going to be there, right? It has a time limit, it expires. And we get stuck back in the cycle, we get complacent, we forget about the consequences, and we slip back into the same cycle because we don't have any of that accountability. So willpower, although I'd work for maybe a week, 2 weeks, it all just led back to the same situation where I'd pick up a joint or I'd do coke again or something like that, and that was just my cycle going round and round and round. And then I tried online research, Googling around, listening to podcasts and that kind of stuff. And although that was helpful and you learn a lot intellectually, didn't really create any emotional shift for me. So that was a bit of a limitation and held me back a bit, to be honest. Then I thought about the GP, and the GP just don't really have the expertise in mental health or addiction. And like a lot of the clients I work with now, when it comes to the GP, they just put you on antidepressants or give you higher dosage, and that doesn't really help going from one drug to a fucking another drug. Doesn't really make any sense. It's best to get clean, see how you feel and go from there. And the GP, they're a doctor, they're not a mental health professional. And sometimes people who go into the GP and then go into some of the community programs, they can feel like it's not really for them, and they can feel like it's just full of people who are at a more severe end of addiction than they are, when they're just functioning professionals like I was and like the clients I work with. So they can find those GP route in the community a bit hard. The next thing I personally tried was AA. AA, of course, it stood the test of time. I don't want to completely bash AA, and anything that's lasted that long and has helped millions of people get sober, I do respect. But for me personally, when I went into an AA meeting, it was in a church, and it was in a church because that's like the cheapest place for most people to do it. But again, that was always already giving me dodgy vibes, right? That it's going to be some kind of spiritual cult or something like that. And when I went in, people were okay, and I related to some of the stories, and I felt like they were helping. And especially in the early days, it was good to have a bit of community around me of people who were in the same boat as me, who were drinking and using drugs. But I didn't like the whole click sense of it, and that everyone got my number, I have to do 90 meetings in 90 days, and it can be a bit full on, rah, go and do AA is the only way, life sentence of AA, and they kind of just jump down your throat a bit, and that's a bit like, whoa, over fucking whelming. So that put me off a bit, and I went there for like a few months, but that didn't really work and didn't really stick for me in my life. And then I thought about rehab, but I just didn't have any money to pay 20 grand to go in rehab for a month. I just failed my business. I was thousands of pounds in debt. I was living in a house share, a rock bottom in my life. I just didn't have the money to come up with to actually go into rehab. So those things just didn't really work for me. And it was when I was actually watching a YouTube video from one of my mentors back in the day, a guy called Phillip McKernan, and he speaks about men and masculinity and that it's okay to be vulnerable. And what I really liked about that is in one of the podcasts I watched, he said about that it's okay to have therapy, it's okay to have an emotional bank account, it's okay to be vulnerable as a man. All of these ideas I just never even came into contact with. I just thought I didn't have emotions, I was emotionless. Used to say to my old business partner, if you want a friend, get a dog. Even my own business partner, we weren't like emotionally connected. And that was because as a man growing up, I just shut down all of my emotions and so suppressed it all. Just needed to be a hard businessman who didn't have any feelings and who could just crack on and get through it. But then my feelings, in hindsight now I realise, were coming out sideways through drink and drugs. But the point is, Phillip McKernan really opened me up to this idea that men can have emotions, men can go to therapy, men can feel things. So that's when I started to look into therapy. And I Googled around and I found a specialist addiction therapist. And to be honest, it was just luck. She was amazing. She had worked in rehab. She had been through addiction. She understood what life was like as an addict, and she understood as well like the journey of addiction, and she was a specialist addiction therapist. Didn't try and find that was just like luck and a godsend in hindsight. But I remember walking into my first therapy session, I felt like I was genuinely gonna die from bringing up all of that pain, everything I just buried as a man deep down all of those years. So it was really, really scary and really, really difficult to face those emotions. But I went in there, just blurted it all out, told her about my mum dying and my addiction and all of this stuff in that first hour, and just like verbal diarrhea on her and just spewed it all out of me. And then I was like, I just relaxed. And I went back week after week. Every single week I went back to therapy. And the reason I liked it and the reason it stuck for me is because it was one-to-one. It was just me and her in the room supporting me through it. And it was just about me. I know that can be a bit selfish, but it was just about me. It wasn't about a group of people and all their other problems and blah, blah. It was just me and her talking about that stuff week after week, processing my problems. And most importantly, it was about like integrating that change into my life. And slowly, as I learned to get sober, and I have a few weeks where I wouldn't do drugs, and then I have a slip, and then I'd learn the triggers and what was triggering me, and I got a call from the bank about my debt and about them collecting the money, and that triggered me, etc., etc. Like, as I slowly learned to get through the triggers and not use and not drink, I kept going to therapy week after week, and it taught me to learn to deal with those triggers and process my emotions. And that helped me, that I could relapse, that I could learn, that it was a training ground, that I could express my emotions, and it was customised to me and specific to me. And that's helped me stay sober for the past 8 years. I stayed in therapy. I just kept going week after week. I always had stuff to learn, which I enjoyed, and I always kept getting value from it. And as I got sober, it took me about 9 months to get sober through therapy and work through stuff. And then the last time was just the last time, and I just stayed sober from then. And then it just really helped me stay on track. I just went through the next problem in my life and the next problem, rebuilding my life and working again. And when I did a degree in counselling and trained to become a counsellor, and all of that, just therapy helped support me through getting a degree in all those difficult times. So that's a bit about my journey, some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't work. And like I say, addiction therapy was the thing that really stuck for me. So if you want to work with me now, I am addiction therapist, been working for the past like 5 or 6 years as an addiction therapist. If you want to work with me personally, I'd love to help you on your journey through addiction. And you can check out our 8-week addiction counselling program in the link below, or book a call directly with me and we'll go through your specific situation and how I can help you. But yeah, I hope you got some value from this video, and I'll check you in the next one.